feel like I was old enough to remember more. So that's been a frustrating part to even to date. I've let a lot of it go and just accepted it. But at the same time, it's frustrating not to remember more. Like again, I remember parts of it, obviously that day, literally until that point. That's the weird part. Cause I always think about, I'm like, my body literally went to defense mode to shut myself down as a defense mechanism, from my understanding, from knowing nothing, to protect me.
So when I say all that because when I hear someone who had this hit quite literally directly at home, in a town that had it hit all over the place at home, in a town where people, as you said, it's a commuter town. A lot of people go to New York every day. And in school, you were never told anything about it. That is stunning to me.
Yeah, I don't know how. I mean, I guess everyone, like no one knew what to do. So I'm sure there's plenty of stories like what you just explained. People told you what was up, and then my school didn't. What was the best choice? I have no idea. But I want to ask you, because you remember seeing like some details of that day. Do you remember how you absorbed that, or like how you understood what they were telling you?
It actually hit me. Now, could it hit me like it would have when I was 15 years old? No, because you're young, that you don't have the full grasp. But I knew this was something unprecedented. This was awful. I knew thousands of people were dead. The biggest city in the world, my favorite city, New York, had basically like literally exploded, you know? I remember having all those thoughts. I remember my mom picking me up from school and just ashen face. Because the two people that died in the building, she knew well. And one of them, it was like she knew the family really well. And we didn't know that those guys were deceased at that point, but people were like, they haven't heard from them, you know? And I remember all those images. And then I remember going home. And that whole week, I remember from day one all the way through, like just seeing Wolf Blitzer on the TV, just like, yeah, like what is there to say? You know, you're looking, I think he was broadcasting from like right there too. You're just looking at this going, we don't know anything. I mean, we know some people hit this place, but you know, the whole world was at a standstill. So it did hit me, but I would imagine being 12 years old, you know, that's where you're starting to think about the world a little more. So how much could you even let the gravity of the situation hit you, though, when you're dealing with a way more immediate hurt, which is the fact that your dad is caught up in it?
Well, I mean, even when you explained that you remember that day one to today, like that week.
Hey guys, if you haven't already subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. It's a huge, huge help. Thank you.
And even just the details you've explained to me, it's a weird feeling because, again, as I've already said, I don't remember so much. So part of me is like, okay, how much was that just being young? But I wasn't that young, as you said. 12 years old it's young. For an experience like that, it's young. It's an experience for anyone. But I feel like I was old enough to remember more. So that's been a frustrating part to even to date. I've let a lot of it go and just accepted it. But at the same time, it's frustrating not to remember more. Like again, I remember parts of it, obviously that day, literally until that point. That's the weird part. Cause I always think about, I'm like, my body literally went to defense mode to shut myself down as a defense mechanism, from my understanding, from knowing nothing, to protect me. But it's only a temporary protection. I feel like that whenever you go through anything in your life, especially as something traumatic, your body may shut down in certain ways, maybe not the same way that I did. But it's really the way I look at it now. It's like, okay, we're going to shut this down right now for however long that's going to last, but it's not going to be over. That's something you're going to have to figure out down the road. So your body might shut this stuff down to protect you for a little bit, but it's not meant to stay in there forever. So that's been part of my process to figure out what got stuck inside me, even though I don't remember a lot of the things. I don't really remember how I felt. A lot of the stuff that I do know now is from stories of asking my mom, my sister, like, how was I? What did I act like? Was I this? Was I that? Did I cry? And so a lot of my process is unraveling all that. And that's been my journey. A lot of my grief experience has been later in life, becoming a man. And even to the point where I started this podcast, a lot's come up from that. But it's been so long that it's bizarre how you still have things to work out. Yeah. And I always wonder, okay, how much of that day f***ed me up to what I can't do this I'm not doing this in a relationship, or I'm this way. Is that just from 9/11, or is that just from other things? So it's like unraveling this puzzle pieces. I can't put everything I do, all my flaws, just in the box of September 11th, losing my dad, maybe. But some of it is just letting go of understanding where it came from and just understanding that you want to work this out and then just figure it out without a story behind it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So it's a grief, death, whatever everyone's going through, it's a complicated experience, but I feel like I've learned to just kind of try to simplify it, because you go down a rabbit hole with anything too much, then you're starting to confuse yourself more. But it's been 25 years now. So it's been, I've lost people before that, after that. So it's all kind of mashed up. But I tell you, going through that at 12 years old, you kind of got to grow up a little quicker, because you see the world differently immediately. That's one thing I do remember. Immediately, you do see the world differently.
Can you explain what was so different?
Yeah. I mean, in particular, it was more, I did notice getting treated differently. Like, I'm pretty sure I made the 7th grade baseball team as non-8th grader because of my dad. Like in a small detail, like I was good, but I probably could have made it as an 8th grader. I don't know about a 7th grader. So I'm pretty sure I made the cut because of my dad. So like a small micro example. But besides that, like going back to school, I'm the 9/11 boy. I'm like the Pete Davidson before Pete Davidson kind of thing, where David was the one, and I think there were maybe another person in the school I'm forgetting, but I was the guy that lost his dad 9/11. I was the one going to the Little League baseball games that didn't have his dad, and people would talk to me a little gently, and I noticed that. And I've heard from other guests that I've had that lost someone young. One girl was honest about it. She's like, I actually liked the attention because it was a form of love in some capacity. I appreciated the attention because I had an amazing community around me, my family, obviously my sisters, my mom, immediate family, friends, like the support that I had that I know a lot of people don't have. I don't know how else I would have done it without them, let alone my mother and my sisters. So I'm very grateful for the support I had, because community and support is a massive way to get through anything in life. I'm grateful I had that. But at the same time, sometimes the attention was too much. Even to date, like I get text messages every year. And like one year, I was like, can I just get one 9/11 with no text messages, none of this yada yada? It's just it's too much. And that's where it starts getting a little melted with the individuality of a grief experience, and also the publicity that comes behind how me and many other people lost someone. And that's where it's nice, but also it gets a little overwhelming. You know? I
think it's, and I can only say this from the outside looking at these situations, anytime you lose someone close to you, don't care who you are or what the circumstances are, it's unimaginable until you go through it. There is something extra in the time afterward when you lose your parent in a very high profile way, or something like that, or when you lose someone close to you in a high profile way, because a lot of people, when it has a lot of attention on it, a lot of people who you don't know feel a certain way, and with the right intentions towards someone like you or people in your family. But the way that sometimes gets expressed is people don't really know what to do, so they do things and they don't really think about it. And I'm not blaming them, but they're not really thinking about like how you're going through it and how you're dealing with that, and how you're then almost forced to at all times carry that around because of the way sometimes random people will come talk to you about it.
Yeah, it's interesting. Maybe I'm continuing that thought in the wrong way, but a lot of thing that comes up with a lot of my discussions, and specifically grief, even though I talk more beyond that, it's like, what do you say to someone during that experience? And I wonder if I haven't really thought about this till you just said that, but it's like, I wonder if I've heard a lot of that because everyone knows about my dad and reaches out to me so much, even 25 years later. Obviously that's dimmed down a little, but I've heard so many people say a million different things to me, whether I can say it verbatim or not. But maybe through that experience, I never had a problem with what people said to me, whether it was the right thing or the wrong thing. So I don't know what the right thing or the wrong thing is. I just always focus on what their intention was. Like some people get pissed off. You say, oh, they're in a better place, or whatever these words are that some people might get bothered by. And it triggers a lot of people to take these words in the wrong way, if you will. And I wonder if through my experience, that's why, to the point now, like I don't let what people say to me affect how I feel. Unless someone's just an asshole, then someone's saying the wrong thing to be an ass. That's different. But I just don't put too much weight on people saying the wrong thing during the time of grief. Yeah, and I know it can. If you feel a certain way and you do get pissed off, you get more sad. Like, it's fine. It's fine. Whatever you feel is fine. But I think it's important to understand that most people are coming from a good place, even if they're saying the wrong thing or not, because they don't know what do you say? Even I've been talking about death for 6 years now on the podcast. I still don't know the right words.
I don't know what to say.
So in my place, just words, if anything, like the action, the things you do for people. Yes. To me, that's just how I am. Like, yeah, words are important, but at the same time, it's like, okay, but what's the action? That speaks louder than words, as they say, for a reason. So I don't know if that even makes sense to how I'm parlaying with what you're saying, but it's like, And it's a sensitive topic. You lose someone you know dies, or a friend's going through grief. Like, what do I do? What do I say? From the person in grief, I understand why you get triggered by certain words people say. But at the same time, for me personally, I'm just like, I don't know. Like, thank you. But at the same time, if they say the wrong thing, it just doesn't get to me. I don't know.
It's also, there's no good age to ever have someone close to you die, to be very clear. But I would say when you're in that like 10 to 15, 10 to 16 kind of range, at least from a lot of experiences I've seen of other people, that seems to be like the hardest time, because you're starting to come of age, you're starting to become independent in some things. You only know the reality in this case of like having your parents around, and when you lose that, it's almost like you're losing it before you can get all the proper guidance to get to the quote unquote important things in life. Have you thought a lot about that since then, considering when this happened?
Yeah, honestly, I mean, this isn't just because I lost my dad at 12, but sometimes I think, like, I feel like 12 is the sweet spot. Like, out of that 10 to 15 range, like, fuck, like 12 is specifically a very interesting time to have such a traumatic event, because it is, everything you just said is like, you're not young enough, you're old enough to know like what's up in the world a little bit, even as ignorant as and undevelopmental you are. But you are old enough to understand, and you're still developing. Like, you're still developing from 10 to whatever, 25. But at the same time, that 12-year-old age is such a pivotal part of a young boy or young girl's life,
Right.
Like you said, for many reasons. So yeah, I have thought about that. And it's still weird. Like earlier, again, you said surreal, and it's just beyond how wild that day was. Like, shit, sometimes it's not that I forget, it just feels like a weird dream that I lost my dad at 12 years old. But now all these conversations I've had, doesn't dim it, but kind of. I'm like, people always say, like, "Oh, Dave, no one should ever lose their father at 12 years old." And part of me is like, yeah, like, I know why. Like, what does should mean? Like, what do you mean? Like, it happens all the time.
Yeah.
And it's not to diminish anyone that's gone through a similar experience in some capacity, but it is, to me, it's just kind of, it helps me with my acceptance, understanding that no, this just happens in the world. And that was one of the biggest lessons I learned from what happened to me, because you put it all together, it's like, okay, 9/11 is just wild as hell in general. Like that, how the hell, like, how did that happen? That's a whole nother conspiratorial rabbit hole we can maybe get into later. But that happened. My dad died in the Twin Towers, the plane crash. It happened when I was 12. So at a young age, I realized, oh no, this shit can just happen. Not only can I lose my dad and my mom or anyone in my life and the impermanence of it all, but it could happen in that way. So it just made me understand life and see the reality, quote unquote, of what this world is and what can happen. And so now when things happen in my life, of course, there's that innate emotional feeling of shock, like that first initial response. But beyond that, when I take a beat and think about it, I'm like, okay, no, at a young age, I realized that wild shit can happen, good, bad, the ugly. And it's helped me process anything that comes up in my life. Even it still doesn't say the pain's not there, but at the same time, it's like, I'm not shocked about anything that happens in this world.
Thank you guys for watching the episode. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button and smash that like button on the video. They're both a huge, huge help. And if you would like to follow me on Instagram and X, those links are in my description below.